This funnel represents your sales process, okay? Can anybody tell me what goes at the top of your funnel? Will, Linda, what do you think goes in the top here? Samantha, to all my trusty students, what do you think? What's the very top of the funnel and when we're going out looking for listings? What's the first thing we put in there? Dials. Booyah. Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, good. Folks, okay? Your dials. And then what comes a little further down the funnel? Once you dial people, what do? You connect with them. Okay? Make sense so far? Pretty straightforward, huh? Pretty easy peasy lemon squeezy? Sweet. What comes after? Okay, guys, type it in the chat. What comes after you connect with somebody? What do you try to do? Money doesn't come quite that quickly, Gus, but it's a good start. Okay, listing meeting. Yes, Miss Linda. Yes, yes. Okay, so listing meeting. Okay. All right. Boom, 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 boom. All right, guys. Okay, whoopsie. And then what comes after the listing meeting? Okay, you could say listing meeting, listing presentation, listing conversation. It all means the same thing. Okay, basically, you pick up the phone and you try to convert you try to get a hold of somebody. You get a hold of somebody, you try to get a meeting. You get a meeting, and then you try to get a listing. Okay, and then after listings, you try to get those listings what? Sold, right? The best way to mess up your typing is to try to type in front of 50 people. All right, listings sold. Okay, make sense, folks? Okay, very, very simple. And it all starts, so when I talk about conversions, guys, when I talk about this funnel, okay, this is exactly what we're talking about. So it's super duper straightforward, and all you have to think of is like, this is one level of the funnel, and then you convert to here, 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 and then at the bottom here, what do we got, guys? Dollar bills, y'all. Okay, right here, boom. Okay, so doesn't it stand to reason that the more dials you make, the more connects you're going to make, the more listings you're going to listing meetings you're going to book, the more listings you're going to take, the more listings you're going to sell, the more money you're going to make. Yes? Everybody type a capital Y, capital E, capital S in the chat. Okay? Because I want you guys, this is like the basis of what we're going over for tonight. Okay? As long as you understand this, then you'll understand. Now let's play a little let's play like a little game. What is that called, guys? When let's say there's like a pickup truck, right? And they're unloading bags of sand off of it. What's it called when one person passes it to the next one, and that person passes it to the next one, and that person passes it to the next one? Type that in the chat, guys. And that one to the next one, to the next one. Rather than the guy picking up a bag of sand and then he's got to walk 30 yards. There's 10 guys 3 yards apart. So they grab it, take it, hand it to the next guy. Does anyone know what that's called? Do you guys know what that's called? It's called a daisy chain, Dixie chain. What's that called? Something like that. Anybody know what that means? What's that called? Okay. Assembly line. Cool. We'll go with assembly line. All right. What happens, okay, if the first, let's say there's 100 bags of sand on the truck. What happens if the first guy in line drops half of the bags on the ground and it never gets to the second guy? What's going to happen, folks? What do you think is going to happen to the amount of bags that end up at the end of the supply chain, right? What do you think is going to happen? You're going to break the assembly. Exactly. So if half of them fall apart and bust on the ground, they'll never get to the second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th guy. You with me, guys? Type a yes if you're with me on this, okay? Because we're getting to a point, okay? What we're trying to show you is, and what we want to go over tonight is it's very, very simple what you need to do, okay? You need to keep your funnel intact. Well, okay, what does that mean? The most important thing is who you reach out to, okay? You can call the wrong phone number 1,000 times and they'll still never pick up. You guys with me on that? Okay. So what I want you guys to need to understand, like on a gut level, okay, and I try to express this to all my students, especially when they're starting the research phase. So Sam, heads up on this, right? This is very important. This is right where you are. When you're doing your research, very important to understand who you are reaching for is the very first person on that assembly line, okay? If you reach out to the wrong person, if you get bad information, you get the wrong phone number, you mess up their LLC, whatever, okay? It's going to affect the dials, the connects, the listing means, the listings sold, the dollars. Does that make sense, folks? Okay. So when you're preparing to start taking listings, okay, you need to reach out to people. You guys, it's my rule of 3, all right? Write this down, guys. This took me years to figure out, and I'm going to drop it on you for free right now. So just put the big three. Type the big three in the chat for me, guys. I got to get 10 people to type the big three, or else I'm just going to hit the little red button. How about that? All right, cool. That's 2. Come on, don't be shy, guys. Get those fingers going. There we go. Okay, Linda, Sam, yeah, all right. Katya, Rudolph, okay. That's what we're talking about, guys. The big three is very simple. This is never going to change. I don't care if what AI says. I don't care what's coming down the pipe with some new technology. I don't care what a bot says. I don't care what the NAR says, okay? It doesn't matter. These things are as consistent as gravity, okay? And it's so simple, but once you realize what it is, you'll get it like on a fundamental level. Oopsie. All right, so check this out. You guys remember these from high school? Let me turn the lights on. It's dark in here. All right, do you guys remember these from high school? All right, 24 to the right, 13 to the left, 16 to the right, boop, opens right up, right? Every single time, right? As long as you hit the combination right. But I don't know. Rudolph, Mr. Perkins, do me a favor, hop on the mic. If you unmute it down the bottom left. No, can't hop it on. Ruben, you hop on. Hit the bottom left, unmute. No, you can't do it? Okay, fine. The point I'm making here, guys, right, is if you get 2 of the 3 numbers correct, but not the third, does the lock stay open or closed? Type in open or closed. Ah, yes, it stays closed. Exactly. Okay. So, but wait a minute. What if I get 2 of the 3 numbers? I mean, it's 2/3 of the way, right? Right. What happens? It stays closed. Okay. So the problem is you can't just be 2/3 right. Okay. You got to be completely right. So the big 3 are you have to be reaching out to the right person, okay, with the right message, okay, and at the right time. Okay. Now, can anybody tell me who the right person is? Who to reach out to, right? You could call the phone book, right? But the example I always like to use is pretend you're a doctor, right? And all you want to do is help sick people. But you don't know how to find them, right? You don't have your own private practice. You're a brand new doctor looking to get started. So you just first day out of medical school, you go walking up and down Main Street and you talk to 2, 3, 4, 500 people. And you say, are you sick? Are you sick? Are you sick? Are you sick? And finally, you speak to enough people that you find a handful of sick people, right? That's one way of doing it. But is that the most efficient or not so efficient? Is that good or bad, guys? Like if you're talking to 400 or 500 people and getting a handful of people to help, right? It's meh. Exactly, Linda, right? So wouldn't you rather just put like a folding chair, right? And sit outside the emergency room and wait for the ambulance to pull up. And as they're pulling somebody off a gurney, you say, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, sir. You sick? Can I help you? Right? Okay. That's the difference between reaching out to the general public, just dialing the phone book, so to speak, okay, and reaching out to the right person, right? Why? Write this down, folks, because we have reason to believe, okay? When someone's walking down Main Street, you don't have reason to believe that they're sick. Maybe if they had a mask on, maybe if they're walking with a limp, maybe if they're bleeding out their ears or something weird like that, right? But chances are none of those 3 you're going to see, right? But if you are sitting outside the emergency room of a hospital and an ambulance is coming up with sirens blaring, okay, and they're pulling someone out on a gurney and they got an IV stuck in their arm, yes or no, folks, is that reason to believe that they are sick and you can help them? You with me, guys? Gus gave me the big thumbs up. Thank you, sir. Exactly, right? So that's the point, folks, of when you're starting your process, when you're starting reaching out to people, okay, you have to, number one, reach out to the right person, okay? Write this one down, guys, okay? You can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. Pardon my French, guys, but it's very, very simple. I promise that'll stick with you, okay? You cannot squeeze a round peg into a square hole. It just doesn't work that way, okay? And what I find so often, okay, and I did it when I was a rookie, folks, and I'm going to ask you guys to be real honest with me because I'm about to be real honest with you guys, okay? When I didn't know how to prospect, I would go out and type of that big that's me, or that was me, or that is me. Okay. If this applies to you, you go out, you do a little bit of prospecting, you hate it, it sucks, it's no fun. You find one or two people that are willing to like talk to you and willing to like entertain your phone calls. And then you go out, you're doing searches for them, and you try to do this, and you try to do that, and like you call them over and over again, and like you like babysit them, like they're a little baby egg from like a California condor, like some sort of like rare, a species or something like that. And then all of a sudden, poof, they evaporate. And like they're like Jimmy Hoffa. They go into like the witness protection program, never to be seen again, never to answer your call, never to answer your text. Okay, right, guys, that is what happens when you don't know how to prospect. And number one thing is when you don't know who to reach out to and why you're reaching them. Does that make sense, folks? Okay. You cannot turn someone who's disinterested into someone that's interested. Okay. You're never going to sell a juicy steak to a vegetarian. Okay. You're never, ever, ever going to sell ice to an Eskimo. It doesn't work that way, folks. What you have to do is you have to find somebody in need. You have to have, ready for it? Air quotes, reason to believe. Okay. That can take on a whole bunch of different things. But what I want you guys tomorrow, for those of you that aren't in the program and don't know how to figure out what the reason to believe is, right? I want you to start prospecting with intent. That's your big takeaway. Start prospecting with intent. Start thinking about, instead of this person just happens to own a building in my city, right? Start thinking why you're going to reach out to them. Because once you pair why you're reaching out to them, okay, and then at the same time, you're pairing a good message, which is incidentally number two, okay, then you start to have impact, right? Okay, that makes sense, guys? You with me? Okay, cool. So you have to have the right person. You have to be reaching out to them. You have to have some sort of reason to believe, because otherwise, guys, most, like in my market, I love industrial. It's my jam, right? So for many, many years, I tracked industrial statistics. There's a 4% conversion rate, okay, or absorption rate, meaning 96% chance of anyone you talk to is not going to sell this year. You with me? Okay. So there's a 96% chance on every single call that you make that you're not going to get any business this year. Not this day, not this month, this year. So the point I'm making, folks, okay, you better have good reason, or else you're wasting your most valuable commodity, and that's time. You with me, guys? Okay. As a side note, how many of you know what your hourly rate is? If you do, type it in the chat. If you don't, I'm going to tell you. You take whatever you're projecting to make, or whatever you're hoping to make this year, and you divide it by 2,000 work hours. That's 40 hours a week, 50 weeks of the year. Okay. Perfect. All right. So Gus said 575. Hell yeah. Gus is projecting over $1 million this year. Linda says 350. She's projecting for 700. Will says 90. Yes, 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 exactly. And if you don't know what that number is, guys, do the math right now and put it in the chat. Because once you start looking through the lens of what is my time worth, then you'll know I ain't got time to mess with these fools. I don't have time to just walk up and down Main Street and talk to 500 people. I had better be going to the people outside the emergency room, going back to that metaphor. Does that make sense, guys? Type a 1 in the chat if you're with me, okay? If that makes a lot of sense, like, oh, snap, I need to start going after the people that are actually going to do something. It's like going after, trying to sell food to people who are actually hungry, You don't wait for people to walk out of a restaurant with a full belly and be like, hey, we got some really great dinner specials. Like, they're never going to buy from you. You with me, guys? Okay? Very, very important to understand. And then finally, the third part, and this is like my big three rule, okay? You got to be reaching out at the right time, okay? The right person, once you start filtering those through, you're going to get that dialed in, okay? Once you get your messaging dialed in, right? When you match the reason you're calling that person with an appropriate message, okay? You bring the two together, boom, it works perfect. It's like peanut butter and jelly, okay? And the last thing is, and this is the thing we can't control as much, because we can control the right person. We can certainly control the right message. If you have the right scripts, right? Scripts are dynamite. They work like crazy. Katya, nod your head if you've seen listing after listing after listing, right? Right? They work, guys. Meeting after meeting after meeting, listing after listing. They just convert. Why? Because we're reaching out to the right people with the right message. The only thing we can't control is the right time, but not entirely, okay? Have you guys ever heard me do the Band-Aid example? I think I did it last week or the week before. You guys ever heard me do the Band-Aid example? No? No? Will, hop on the mic, dude. Hop on the mic real quick. Bottom left, you can just unmute yourself. You get it? So what we're going to do is we're going to do a very, very simple example showing why. Oh, you know what? I don't think you can unmute. Oh, darn it. Maybe you can't. Okay. It comes down to this, guys. Will, just type in the chat for me, okay? Will, can I interest you in a brand new Johnson & Johnson Band-Aid? Type yes or no in the chat.
No, thank you.
Okay, exactly. Why not? Come on, it's brand new. Johnson & Johnson.
I've got the old version, works just fine.
Okay, you're good. All right. Now, let's say, heaven forbid, I'm driving down the highway. Will fell off his motorcycle, hit a pothole. He went over the handlebars, and guess what? Will's elbow's bleeding. Will's knee is all skinned up. And then when he's on the side of the road, he's in the middle of nowhere. I pass by. I say, "Hey, pal, can I interest you in a brand new Johnson & Johnson Band-Aid?" What do you think he's going to say?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Right? Why? Because he's the right person, got the right message, and it's at the right time. Okay. The only way you can control the timing of your message is to reach out to people over and over and over and over again in the proper sequence so that they aren't like calling the police on you, right? But not so infrequently that basically your competition is getting the business. Does that make sense, folks? Right? Type one to chat. In the chat, that makes sense. Yeah? Okay? Because folks, once you line these three things up, okay, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good evaluation you are. It doesn't matter how good you are once you get to the listing meeting. It doesn't matter how good you are at marketing. It doesn't matter how good you are at getting your listing sold. It doesn't matter how good you are at managing due diligence. None of that stuff matters until you get the first 3 steps figured out. Okay, guys? You got no clients, no money. Exactly, Linda, right? Right person, right message, right time. Who to reach out to, how to get a hold of them, what to say. Does that make sense, guys? Okay. Until you get that figured out, you will forever be stuck at home plate trying to get on first base. Who's with me on that one? Okay. All right, guys. That is what it comes down to, folks. And what I try to do is I try to get you guys unstuck, because all this entire game is, okay, is a process. Look at this, guys. It's 9 steps. Incidentally, the first 3 steps here, that's who to reach out to, how to research them, and what to say. Guess what, folks? You'll never get to step 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 unless you get the first 3 dialed in. And that's why the name of today's training was the most important part in your prospecting process. All right, folks? It's incidentally the most important part of the game. You could be great at everything else, but you never get on first base. You're never going to get to second, third, or home. You'll never have any home runs. Make sense, folks? Okay? Guys, thank you for being here as always. I want you to type in the bottom in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on a Zoom, okay? What are you going to implement immediately? What are you going to implement tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock when you get to the office? Let's type it up. Let's get this fired up. Let's see what you guys got. What do we have? Doom, doom, doom. Dials. Yes. Linda, do the dials. Yes. What else we got? Make the calls. Yes. Absolutely. Research and dials. Good. Good, good, good. Okay. All I want you folks to do is just implement 1 day at a time. It's very, very simple. It's not easy to do. This business is very simple. Once you figure it out, once I give you the blueprint, then you just have to do it over and over and over and over again. And that's the difficult part. Getting to the office the same time every day, picking up the phone even when you don't feel like it. Those are all the things that are the hardest to do. But folks, if you don't pick up the phone, I guarantee you, you won't get any new business. It's just that simple. Okay, folks? So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it, guys. See you guys same time, same place next week. Thank you all for being here the entire time. And we'll see you on the calls. Talk to you later.